Hey, my name is Paul Wolf. I make music with drums, tape, synthesizers and other funny sounding stuff. Tomorrow I will release my track You Do What You Are. This is a short explanation how I composed and performed the track and what thoughts were behind that. So this is a short rundown of the equipment that I use. Here we have the Moog DFAM, the drummer from another mother. It's an 8-stem sequenced semi-modular analog percussion synthesizer. So it's kind of like a drum machine but more percussive. I really like the workflow of that one. And the DFAM goes through the Retroverb from Vermona. It's a real spring reverb. So there's a spring inside, or several springs actually. We have a cut-off, a filter section. We have an LFO, so we can modulate the sound of the DFAM. We have the OP1. I loaded a Rhodes sample with a delay. And then we have Uher record, a tape recorder that was battery powered. It's from my grandfather and it's from '64, I guess. Here we have a tape loop with a spoken word sample.
You are, Dorothy.
You mean you are what you do?
No, I mean, you do what you are.
It's Morgan Freeman speaking in the movie Along Came a Spider from 2001. I quickly demonstrate how that one sounds, so I start the sequence. This one goes through the reverb. So what I did was I performed a live set from the Moog through the Retroverb together with the OP1 and with a spoken word tape loop from the Uher, and I recorded that into this Tascam Portastudio. It's basically a 4-track or actually 8-track tape recorder with a cassette. A cassette has 4 tracks, and for each track I have a fader, and I recorded that live set on tape. It sounded like that. So we have the vocal sample. Oh, this is the tape speed. Okay, now we are in tempo sync. I played drums on top of that. So why did I do this? I like experimenting with sounds. Kind of obvious if you start collecting gear like that. I think the most interesting or the most exciting part for me is that you cannot change what has been recorded. I mean, you can record it again, but you don't want to do that because you liked your performance. You have to try to sound as best as possible, both on tape and with the synthesizer, with the modular system. If you like it, you take it. If you don't like it, you have to perform the whole song again. Yeah. Also, if you record on tape and if you work with analog gear like analog synthesizers or an analog reverb, there's something about working with that. First of all, it's the physical element of magnetic tape, and I have to cut it and I have to build loops with that. It also sounds very lo-fi, especially if you record on cassette. It's a very cheap cassette. This one, it costs maybe €1. It's very cheap. All of that is in very gritty, crunchy, analog, lo-fi aesthetic, which doesn't mean that analog is always lo-fi, but I really pushed it towards lo-fi. I really like that sound. So, You Do What You Are is a very experimental song. That piece of music is the result of an analog versus digital sound experiment. What I did here was I tried to compare the sound aesthetic of typical analog sound and typical digital stereotypes. Everything sounds very analog because it was recorded on tape. So how did I record the drums over that? That was the main part of that experiment. I recorded the drums at the Studio. There we recorded in two ways. We had the cassette playing the playback basically, that I together with the drums into the digital audio workstations, into the computer. But at the same time, we made a mixdown and recorded that mixdown on tape. I'm just playing because it looks so cool. And within the track, there's a transition from the tape sound to the digital sound. Everything you hear in the beginning of the song is 100% analog sound directly from analog gear and acoustic gear into a tape machine and recorded directly to tape with no options of adjusting the sound afterwards. So what has been recorded on tape is recorded. There's a transition happening from the analog sequence to the digital recording. It's very noticeable. So you can really hear, okay, here's a transition from analog to digital happening. So this was my short explanation. Hope you liked it, and I hope you are excited to hear the track You Do What You Are.